Are you guys ready to see the most ridiculous article you've ever read this year? That's saying something. Let's have a look at this. Did Japan just beat the virus without lockdowns or mass testing? Article on Bloomberg. Since I'm living in Japan and know firsthand exactly everything that's going on, the article suggests that the person who wrote this did zero research on the subject. The very first line completely contradicts the title of this article. Japan's state of emergency is nearing its end, with new cases of the coronavirus dwindling to mere dozens. What do you think state of emergency was for the Japanese people? It was a lockdown. No restrictions were placed on residents' movements, and businesses from restaurants to hairdressers stayed open. False. The Japanese government strongly asked lots of different places to close, and only essential stores like convenience stores, grocery stores, post office, stuff like that stayed open. Banks, I think, is another example. There were so many malls that completely shut down, restaurants that were closed with signs saying closed due to coronavirus. In Japan, it's part of Japanese culture where if the government says we recommend to blah blah blah, they take that as do this. Like, you don't have to specifically say in Japan, like, close your restaurant or close your store. Like, just the announcement alone is enough for people to just be like, okay, we're going to do this. Yes, some restaurants stayed open. Some hairdressers maybe stayed open. Basically, the restaurants that stayed open are the ones that were able to adapt and evolve and offer delivery services. They were able to team up and use with Uber Eats, those sorts of things. But some of the other izakayas and Japanese restaurants, many of them were forced to close down. And guess what? The Japanese government's taking care of them. There was a report that I think that businesses that suffered due to this government state of emergency, they were going to get like thousands of dollars in compensation anyways. Next, let's go to, and even as nations were exhorted to test, Japan has tested just 0.2% of its population, one of the lowest rates among developed countries. I wonder why. There's been huge controversy over this and the fact that Japan didn't test people even if someone had symptoms. There was huge controversy about this in February and March, even in early April, where if you had symptoms, you had to call this specific number, and then you have to go to a hospital, and then the hospital might reject you, or they ask you to go to this specific location, but they ask you not to use public transportation, and you have to use a taxi or something. And many people who felt sick were just flat out refused treatment from doctors or tested, and they just were asked to self-quarantine and stay at home. On that note, I want to go to this part where it says, yet the curve has been flattened, with deaths well below 1,000, by far the fewest among group of 7 developed nations, yada yada yada. Let's have a look at this amazing website, covid19japan.com, which was made by somebody that I know called Shane. Isn't it ironic that after the Olympics were finally announced that they were canceled, the number of cases in Japan skyrocketed magically? Like, they decided that they should be honest and start testing people. Anyways, going back to that flattened statistic, hopefully you can see here that Tokyo still going up, Kanagawa Prefecture still going up, Osaka looks like it's kind of flattening out. That you could use the word flattening correctly. Let's look at new cases. Tokyo today, plus 14 new cases. Yesterday, 2. Kanagawa, 5 yesterday. 5 today. So although I may be nitpicking over the word flattened, it is going down, and that's a good sign. But of course, if this state of emergency decides to go away and everyone decides to rush out and go do things and pack into the trains again, if it starts going up, then that could also be a really big problem. And then no one's going to want to have to stay back at home again. Now, this next part of the article is where true journalism is shown at its finest, talking about contact tracing. Talking about how all the different factors that contributed to why the spread wasn't as intense as other countries. Check this out. One widely shared list assembled 43 possible reasons cited in media reports, ranging from a culture of mask wearing and a famously low obesity rate to the relatively early decision to close schools. Among the more fanciful suggestions, including a claim Japanese speakers emit fewer potentially virus-laden droplets when talking compared to other languages.
これはペンです。This is a pen. This is a pen. This is a pen.
すごい。
これはペンです。
同じペンでもやはり吐き出す量が英語と日本語で違いましたよね。これ佐藤先生どうですかこれ。面白い。
This is why I never listen to the news in Japan. They actually show that on the news in Japan. What? Oh, I'm sorry. What? What? Luckily, there are a lot of Japanese people who realize how stupid these people are for even showing that, and are apologizing to foreigners in comments, saying that some of us know how dumb this is. But this person decides to put it in the article as one of the reasons. And why would they share this list on this news article? This is the list that the author decided to share as some of the reasons why the death rate is so low in Japan. Through the power of Google Translate, you can now read it in English. Let's go through some of these. Race. Asians, especially East Asians, were originally resistant to coronaviruses. Asian is another type of coronavirus already by immunization had acquired. I think there's this Australian researcher who's saying like there's this type of immunization that more Asians get. I think it was like tuberculosis or something that causes them to be less or more resistant to coronavirus. Customs used to wear a mask because of hay fever season. Many people have allergies, and also because of not wanting to get others sick or not wanting to get sick themselves, and for privacy reasons. They have clean water and access to soap, which is a joke because so many of the bathrooms I go to in Japan do not have soap in the men's bathrooms. There's no dryers in the men's bathrooms. It's fantastic. Take off shoes indoors. They take a bath every day. What, are you trying to say foreigners don't take baths every day? They don't have religious facilities where they don't have large gatherings of people. Okay, so we're not going to talk about the thousands of people who stand and get in line for shrines on New Year's, albeit that's outside of coronavirus season. Or let's take into fact the thousands of people that get packed into trains every single day. Oh, yeah. It's because you guys don't practice religions. That's definitely the reason. Some elderly people and young people do not live together. What? Japan has probably one of the highest rates of where old people live with their sons or daughters, and they take care of them as they get older in age. They have a healthier breakfast, and they use chopsticks. I'll let you guys go ahead and read through these as I kind of slowly scroll through it as we talk about some other stuff. But as you can see, a lot of these are pretty ridiculous. And it's very nationalistic, I guess. This is Japan. Probably my favorite part of this article is how the February incident of the Diamond Princess cruise ship where they say, other countries still saw the virus as someone else's problem, said Tanaka. But in Japan, the international scrutiny over the infections on board and the pace at which the virus raced throughout the ship raised awareness and recognition that the same can happen across the country. He said, for Japan, it was like having a burning car right outside your house. Except until the Olympics were finally officially canceled, then it was like having a burning car right outside your house. So, for the lovely person, Kurumi Mori, who is Twitter official, who is a reporter for Bloomberg, I really hope this was a joke and this was not posted seriously, because it is really funny. Some of my favorite reactions to this are
Putaro! Putaro! Putaro!
penです. This is a
Godzilla face palming, this is why I destroyed Japan. This one's pretty good too. English. This is and Bloomberg. Are we just going to forget about this article from the Japan Times where it says, Japanese government criticized for low testing rates, eases guidelines for seeking virus tests. Government guidelines previously said people should only consult public health centers about getting tested if they had a fever of at least 37.5, 99.5 Fahrenheit for 4 consecutive days. They also suggested the elderly should have cold symptoms for 2 straight days before seeking a consultation. 4 days. The new guidelines, however, say both the young and the elderly should consult health centers immediately if they have relatively mild cold symptoms for 4 days or longer. So, course numbers would be low if 188 PCR tests per 100,000 people were conducted in Japan compared to 3,100 in Italy and 3,000 in Germany. So linked to both of these articles, the COVID-19 Japan tracker, as well as the hilarious This Is a Pen Twitter, will be in the description below. Comment. What do you think? You enjoying your time in isolation and because of coronavirus? please at me on Twitter, Stefan Panton, with your best This Is a Pen memes, because they are hilarious.
this is a pen
すごいすごいすごいすごい
これはペンです
Sugoi. Also, go and support this young YouTuber who makes a hilarious parody of the news about This Is a Pen. Hope you guys enjoyed this interesting article and stuff that's happening in Japan. If you would like to ask me questions, please at me on Twitter, Stefan Panton. I'm also streaming on Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube every single day. You can go check me out here. If you like gaming or you want to know more stuff about Japan, please subscribe now. I would really greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.